Welcome to Level Up with Kia Baxter. Well, you'll discover purpose is a lifelong journey and requires an individual's commitment to self-development. Join me as I share my personal stories and tools on how you can constantly go to the next level. Welcome to episode 4 of Level Up with Kia Baxter. I am super excited about today's episode because we actually have a special guest here with me on today's episode. So we've got actor, producer, and director Wandell Richardson here with me. Hey, Wandell.
Hey, how you doing?
I am awesome. So I'm gonna do, before we get into talking about what it is that he wants to talk about, because remember on the last episode, I said that there was some people who had some rebuttals and had some things to say about what I had to say on the last episode about communication and also about love. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say. But before we do that, I want to go into do like a little recap. Okay. The first show on relationship was What is Love? And we talked about what love was, how it's patient, how it's kind, how it doesn't anger easily, that how the person has to have self-control and all of those different things, as well as, you know, people just understanding that it's a when you're in a relationship with a friend or even a companion, that it's important for you to recognize that it's a selfless thing. You can't be selfish, you know. And so the second one was on communication. And I listed about 10 different things that will help you to effectively communicate. This is one of the biggest issues that people have in their relationships is communication. Most people, you know, would rather not even communicate and just, you know, let the relationship go, which is not a healthy thing. We would continue these vicious cycles of not having good relationships if we don't know how to effectively communicate. So make sure, if you have not listened to those episodes, they are fire. So make sure you go and listen to them because it's good information. I've gotten some amazing feedback from them. So I know that it's going to be helpful to you in your relationships, you know, and even recognizing the mistakes that you've made in your previous relationships that you can utilize moving forward to help you to be effective. All right. And so now we're going to go ahead and get into this conversation with Wandell. I'm so excited to hear about it. So was there something that you had to say? Well, first of all, I want you to introduce yourself, who you are. Okay. I already kind of gave them a recap, but I want you to, you know, tell the people who you are.
My name is Wandell Richardson. I'm an actor, producer, director here in Atlanta. I'm the CEO of Rain Dance Films. Getting ready to launch my own film company, and I host WCEG Wood, the Hollywood of the South.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I've been on his show as a co-host before, and I'm going to be on it again. So make sure you guys check that out because we're actually going to record that tonight, live tonight. And he's going to I'm going to be his co-host, and we're going to get down and dirty talking about relationships. But before we get started, let me go ahead and tell you guys who this show is sponsored by. It is sponsored by Crowd Control Entertainment, who is helping you to design success. Their website is www.crowdcontrolent.com. So Wandell.
Yes. I couldn't wait to be here. I'm so excited. I listen to your show. Your shows are great.
Yes.
Your shows are great.
And I'm thankful.
Because I be at work and I just put it on speaker and I just sit there and listen to you while I work.
Yes. Yeah. So he's been a really big supporter of Level Up with Kia Baxter. And, you know, he called me up and he said, look, I got something that I have to say as a rebuttal. Can we call in? What can we do? That's coming soon. But I just was like, let me just bring you on as a co-host for today so we can hear from a male's perspective of what you have to say. Because a lot of times I know that I'm speaking, when I'm talking, I'll say like, you know, listen, men, you typically have issues with this or whatever. But you know, I'm not a man. I can only speak from my perspective and my experiences and also how people operate just in general. So it's really cool to have you on the show today to, you know, hear your perspective. So did you have anything to talk about when from the first episode, What is Love? You know,
I do want to say something about that, but I want to go to communication.
Okay.
Because you brought up a scenario or a situation where you was with a guy and he wasn't opening it, he didn't open the door for you or something.
Yes.
And then you said on the air, you were like, well, at least he was honest. So you kind of gave him kudos for that, which is true. But the fact that he didn't open the door for you anyway, I felt like, I'm just like, why didn't you demand that to happen?
Okay. So let me give you guys the scenario again.
Okay.
The scenario was that we went to eat and the car was valeted. And so he got the car back and the valet people brought the car. And I started to get in the car and I saw him. I noticed that he was like getting ready to walk over to where I was, and then he paused and turned back around and got in the car. But the valet person had opened the door for me. And so when I got in the car, he said, "Are you good?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm good." He said, "Oh, well, that's good because I'm not the opening door type of guy." And so I started laughing with him. I started laughing with him because, you know, this was one of the things that I talked about. I talked about what are your non-negotiables, right?
Right.
And so you have to know yourself. And for me, that's not a non-negotiable. Like, my thing is like, oh my God, he has to open the door for me.
So you're saying that you would let that slide if you was in a relationship with a guy if he didn't open the door for you?
I would.
Okay, so that means you would let him not opening the door for you in the car, not opening the door for you to walk in the building, not standing up for you when you go to the bathroom. It's a whole bunch.
Standing up for me when I go to the bathroom. What?
When you leave the table.
Oh, when I go to the. Oh, okay.
See,
okay.
people. See, this is the thing.
Okay.
This is what I wanted to. This is why I wanted to say this, because sometimes men just don't know.
Okay.
Okay. And if they just don't know, I get it.
Right. Okay.
But this guy was in the process of doing it and stopped.
Yes.
That's what made it worse.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
See what you're saying.
So it was like he was about to do it and stopped, and I'm just sitting there like, well, that's just disrespectful on a whole different level, because it's like, okay, well, I was gonna do it, but to me, this is where I was looking at it, and it could be completely wrong. But it's like I was about to do it, but I just didn't think it was worth me, or you were worth me opening the door for you. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I get it. Mm-hmm.
And so I felt some kind of way when you said it, because I'm just like, at that point, you have to demand him, hey, because I've been out with women who will not move until I open the door.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, because I feel like women are queens. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And honestly, a man is not effective in this world without a woman by his side.
Come on,
Period.
Wandell.
I'm just being honest. So with that being said, if that's the way you look at life and you see women, that is the proper thing to do in respect to the woman.
Yeah.
So when a woman doesn't demand that from a man, it's like, I feel like you either babying him or not showing him what a man is supposed to. And you're not supposed to show a man what's supposed to do, but you're not showing him how to respect a woman. Gotcha. You see what I'm saying?
I get it. I think for me, that was one of those moments where it just wasn't like, and I totally understand. I agree with what you're saying, but I think at that moment, it was just one of those things where I was just like, okay, well, you know, that's not something that he wants to do. I knew that there were probably deeper issues, you know, there of why he didn't do it. I wasn't going to press the issue, but we're not together, you know, right now. So obviously there's, you know, there's a reason for that, you know.
I feel like at the same time, you know, men need to learn how to treat and respect a woman.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of men really don't know how. When I was younger, in my late 20s, one of my closest friends, she was Mrs. Black Georgia at the time. Mm-hmm. And she was one of my closest friends and stuff. And I didn't know anything about any of that. Mm-hmm. She taught me all of that. Right. Because they had to learn how all of that during the process of being Miss Georgia, Miss Black Georgia, whoever. Mm-hmm. They have to learn those type of what do you call it? I can't even think of the etiquette. That's what I'm looking for. Etiquette. They had to learn those types of etiquette. Mm-hmm. So with that, I learned from her how to be that way.
Right. I got it.
Even tipping. I didn't even know tipping was a big deal.
Yes.
She taught me that. I'm just like, are you serious?
Yes.
Man, I was the $2 tipper. Like, boom, there you
the
go.
little cheap one,
I'm not even gonna lie to you. But when I learned
Yes.
what it really was about,
like you
then
said.
I changed. And it's all about learning.
Yes.
So I feel like sometimes when you're in a position where you can teach somebody, you should teach somebody.
Yeah, at and I agree.
Yeah.
At this point, though, I think it was like our first little going out type of situation. And I think for me, the type of person that I am is I like to sit back and I like to observe. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the life coaching side of me, you know, where I am not so quick to just respond to something that I just sit back and I'm like, okay, he didn't do that. So I'm analyzing at this point. Now I'm trying to see and get into like his mindset and what's going on with that, because this is the thing also is that sometimes we can jump when you said men need to be taught or learn. Right. Sometimes in relationships we can jump the gun too fast. Like, especially women who have been hurt and men. Well, it's both. I can't say women, but both. When you've been hurt, if you see something that resembles something that you're like, oh no, I'm not dealing with that, then you count that person out too soon sometimes.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
and
true.
Sometimes they level up because they like you that much. So it could have been in the beginning that he was like thinking like, this ain't what I do. It could have been his pride, which I later found out that was his pride. He had been hurt so many times. He had built up this wall. He didn't want to be right. And I agree that it doesn't mean anything. But like I said, we're not together now. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The way I feel like everybody's been hurt.
Yeah.
And that's the whole process of dating and getting to know people and stuff. And I think if you hadn't been through the hurt, you don't know what you really want when you get it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So with that being said, if he was hurt before, he should have been even more so trying to make a point when he took you out or whatever, or open door for you or whatever he did. That's my opinion. I
see it from both ends, because I think people go either way. Mm-hmm. Either they learn or it sets them back.
But that situation should be, when I learned that what etiquette was and how to be toward a woman, and I didn't realize that in today's generation. And I'm gonna say, because I have kids, I have son. My son opens the door, he does everything. Mm-hmm. I taught him that from when he was a kid.
Yes, that's good fathering.
So I taught him to say yes sir, no sir, stuff like that. And people in today's world, they don't really teach their kids those etiquette things, and I learned that because back in the day, if you notice, back in the day, they stayed married forever. They could go through hell on high water, but they gonna stay married. Now they'll divorce if you sneeze wrong.
Exactly. Or if you don't answer that text quick enough.
Right. So, I don't even want to talk about social media and texting. I have went through hell with that. But that in essence, the whole etiquette thing, when you mentioned that, I was just like, what? I was surprised.
Yeah.
But then I wasn't, because I had to think about you and who you were. You know what I'm saying?
What does that mean?
You're a young woman of today's generation.
Oh, stop it. I am actually old
But
school.
you're very classy. Like every time I see you, classy.
Thank you.
You dress well, you're classy, you speak well, everything. So when you said that, it shocked me.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
Like, how did she let that man get away with that?
Right.
But I didn't. At the end of the day, I didn't, because we had the conversation and we're not, like I said, we're not together. But
that's good. That's the part you didn't mention, so that's
right. I did not mention that. But, my point to that whole thing was definitely like, at least he was honest and he gave me a chance to see who he was in the beginning as opposed to faking it.
Right.
Because a lot of people
and
fake
that's real.
it.
That's
some
real.
people, do this whole like I'm this sweet guy opening doors, and then next thing you know, you just cut it off, and now I'm expecting it because that's what you started out doing.
Exactly.
So that was my whole point to that, was that at least if he wasn't a gentleman, he let me know right in the beginning he wasn't a gentleman, so that I could make a decision. Like, you know. But I'm not one of those people that's gonna be like, dude, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't not open the door for me. You know,
right.
I'm not doing that. But I'm definitely. It's a check. Like, okay. Right. Let me see. I see you. I see how you move and how you operate. You know.
Right.
So, but I appreciate that because a lot of women. You're right. A lot of women in today's society just allow men to do a lot. You know. And I think that comes from that whole 1 to 15 ratio. So everybody feels like men are scarce. You know. So now they're afraid to. You know.
But you know what's funny?
Yeah.
When a woman does show that she demands that type of respect, that man looks at her different than other women. And that's what women need to realize.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying? Because now he's like, okay, I can't play games with this woman. This woman is about respect and this, that, and the other. And so he's going to act differently.
That's right.
He's going to be a whole different person. But when you let them get away with stuff, he's like, oh, she easy.
Yeah.
That's how they going to look at it. That's why when you did it, when you said that, I was just like, what? No.
Nuh-uh. Don't do that, girl.
Don't do that, because I see you differently. Like, I see you as a very classy, elegant woman. I've seen you when you speak to audiences and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you always together and poised, you know, never no raunchy, crazy stuff on social media. I'm like, okay. But then you let this guy get away with that.
Ooh, you know? No, he didn't. Let me go get him.
So I was like surprised. That's what took me. I think because of me knowing how you are, it took me to a different place mentally.
Yeah.
Because if it happened with somebody else, I'd be like, yeah.
Well, level me up. You just leveled me up. You know. Next time I'm going to be like, oh, no, brother. You will open this door for me today.
You ain't even got to say nothing. You just sit there. He will come around and open that door.
Yeah.
Trust and believe, because he going to know, okay. You know. But at the end of the day, I also pay attention to people's character and people's facial expression and stuff, because if they act funny about opening the door, then that's obviously something they don't want to do.
Right.
That's an X too.
That's an X too. Educate the ladies on today, Wandell. Okay.
All day.
So, I want to hear your perspective when it comes to love. You know, I think on my first episode when it came to relationships, I definitely talked a lot about the fact that a lot of people don't know how to love properly, you know?
Right.
And that was what the whole breakdown was about, was like, you know, it's patient, it's kind, it doesn't remember wrongs. And then we don't really look at that from that way. We just openly say this word because of how we feel in the moment.
I think the problem with that is that people make love a conditional thing.
Come on.
And they go with what you do and how you do things instead of just loving you unconditionally.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? When you love somebody, that's not built off of what you do or what you don't do. It's just built off of this feeling that you have, genuine closeness that you have to the person.
Yes.
And it's usually like a soul tie kind of thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But a lot of people make that conditional. Oh, he took out the trash. I love him.
Yeah.
Oh, he got a nice. He bought me a diamond ring. I'm in love with him. Like those are the things that people look at,
right,
instead of looking at the person themselves.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? They make it a conditional thing. It's about other things instead of the person.
Yeah.
And so once they get past that, that's why stuff breaks apart.
Yes.
Because now they done got past all the surrounding stuff, and they have to deal with the person.
Yes.
And when they deal with the person, that's when the problem comes in.
Yes.
Because you never paid attention to the person at first. It was
So
all
true.
about what they had, what they was doing. You know, they fell in love with that. But that person is totally different if you pay attention to them. Their insides, who they are. Because I've dated a woman who, she was great. Wonderful woman. You know, she did whatever. If I called, she was there and everything. But she had the worst personality. Like it was like talking to a wall, like, you know. And I just couldn't get nothing out of her. She was guarded, like, and that's the other thing. Like women that are really guarded. And I understand that you want to protect your heart, but when you are guarded, you're keeping part of who you are away from that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tell people that all the time. And I said this at another, at a huge relationship panel I was on. And women, they were telling me, so that's why I would guard, da-da-da-da. And they were saying they were guarded.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I need y'all to look at that guarded thing a different way. Mm-hmm. Because when you're guarded, you're keeping who you really are away from the person you're with.
Yeah.
Because you keeping all the stuff. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
so
you keeping some of it because you're scared to let it out.
Mm-hmm.
And once you let it out, now I'm looking at you different. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
You know, it could be either good or it could be bad.
Yeah.
So I always, tell people, like, take some time. If you're in a relationship, get all that out, flesh it out, and try to be open when you get into the next relationship. Everybody's not the same. Just because this person says something one way, it don't mean the next person going to say the same thing, and it's going to mean the same thing.
Yeah. So that was one of the biggest things that I brought up in the communication thing, was being open and honest.
Right.
About what it is that you need, about, because even when you've been hurt, like for me, I can't deal with like somebody like really raising their voice and doing all that fussing and all that kind of stuff. Right. That's just not who I am.
Right.
And I don't want somebody doing that with me.
Right.
So I have to, they may have come from a volatile situation, or it just might be their personality that when they talk, they get elevated or whatever. But I have to be open and honest and say, hey, listen, that's not my style of communication and I don't like it. Right. And I think that's the biggest issue, is that a lot of times people don't communicate what, they're guarded because they're afraid. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted in fear. It's just like, I'm afraid that they're going to do the same thing.
Exactly.
And they wind up hurting the relationship. Like, what's the point of that?
Yep.
Because now I don't really know, like you said, I don't know the real you. I don't know who you are for real.
Right.
So in order for me to allow you to make that decision, that's always my biggest thing. Allow the person to make that decision. Let me make the decision if I like you or not, or if I want to continue this or not.
Right.
So let me see the real you. Don't fake it. And then later on down the line, the real you comes out. Now I'm like, who is this person? Like, no. Let me see who you are and make the decision. Dude, there are so many other people. I know everybody trying to act like it's scarce, but I don't believe in that. I don't believe in this 1 to 15 ratio, whatever. It's plenty of men out here that are single. Absolutely. Plenty of good men that's looking for a good woman and vice versa.
Yep.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Like this 1 to 15 ratio. Listen, if you don't want to act right, let me tell you something. I'm be open to somebody else. Let me see. Okay. All right. So yeah,
well, see, that's what you should have said to the guy that didn't open the door.
Listen, you're right. You're right. But let me tell you something. I really am a very vocal person. Yep. I think in that scenario, I pick and choose. You know what I mean? I pick and choose when I want to say certain things. And in this case, I just didn't. I just was like, okay.
I'm the same.
You know what I mean?
I pick and choose my arguments.
You pick and choose, and it really wasn't an argument. I just picked and choose when I wanted to discuss it.
Right.
And we did, and I saw stuff in him that I was just like, nah, I'm not willing to deal with that. Like, you're too, he was guarded, because of his past hurts. Yeah. And for me, when you grow up, when you're a mature person, like, and you're ready for this, because I'm in the place where I'm not doing this whole dating thing. Like, I really just, I'm ready to be married, know? So I'm not, jumping or like, no, we're not doing that. Like, so let's go. So, anything else that you had to say, like, about, those, so that was your biggest one.
Yeah, I just say, that was my biggest one. But with love, it's not condition. It's condition. It's not conditional. It's a thing. It's something that is brought from within. It's a passion, and it's not materialistic at all.
Right.
It's not based off of material things. It's based off respect, honesty, truth, loyalty. All of those things mix in and brings you to the conclusion that you love this person. So it's love is just something, and love is such a controversial thing most of the time because people don't really understand it or understand what love means.
Right.
You know, it's a combination of several different things, but most of all, it's a feeling that you have when you're connected to someone spiritually, emotionally, and just in all those different ways that are within, not material.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
The people think when they have sex is love.
Yeah.
They think when they go out on a date, that's love.
Yeah.
You know, all those different things they feel like is love. Those are just forms of showing it. You know what I'm saying? So
since you brought up the big word sex,
right?
That's a good one. That's a good listen. And I ain't scared. I ain't scared to talk about
Let's
it.
talk
you
about
scared?
it. I ain't scared. I'm scared of nothing.
Since we're talking about relationships, right?
Right.
Because, you know, I think that's like a huge thing because that's like, especially nowadays, like when you talk about, you know, creating standards and all that kind of stuff, I think that's a hard thing for most people to wrap their mind around. Like, what, you know, like, what do you mean, you know, no sex before marriage, or what do you mean let's wait type of thing? How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about just the whole, cause in my mind, sex really does cloud things.
Yes,
it really
does.
does make things cloudy. It gives a false sense of relationship.
Right.
And it's based off of lust. It's not really based off of anything that is solid and anything that is fully real, you know?
Okay.
And I think it's of course better when it's with somebody that you're going to be with forever, you know, because it's more into it. Now it's the emotional part, it's the spiritual part, and all these different components. But when you're just doing it and you don't really have a foundation built, it can leave you empty in my mind, you know?
Okay, so I'm going to say some things that people are not going to like me when I say these things, but it's whatever. First thing is, you know, I think the first thing a person needs to do is get to know the person a little bit before they even consider having sex with them. Get to know how they are with their. If it's a guy, does he have a great relationship with his mother? If it's a woman, does she have a great relationship with her father? If you know, and her mother, you know, vice versa. If you know they. You know, if they have kids, how they treat their kids, you know, all these different things should come into play if any of these things concern you. Before you lay down with them, because once you lay down with the person, you're susceptible to having children, whether you like it or not. I've heard a lot of people say they use protection, still get pregnant and all that, and then they get mad afterwards. Why you get mad? You lay down with the person.
Absolutely.
You know, whoever you lay down with, be prepared. That's just what it is. I take care of my kids. You know what I'm saying? I have 3 kids, and I take care of them to the utmost degree. So. With that being said, now the second thing is, now this is what people gonna probably do survive. I have to test the waters before I get, and I'm gonna tell you. hey, I'm just gonna say because, and this is why I say this. You know, I was married before. I got married at 29, divorced her at 32, and went to premarital counseling and all that. And when we went to premarital counseling, the woman told us, she said, if you're a 10 and your mate is a 4, you're probably gonna have some problems in the sexuality department. And she said, if you think sex is not important in a marriage, you are sadly mistaken. So for me, I need to know what I'm dealing with before I get into it, because you know, depending on your sexual orientation and how you are and what level you on with it, and you know, I need to know what I'm dealing with. Period. So, that's just me though. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's for me.
So in terms of what you just said, before you said that you need to get to know the person.
You need to do that before you have sex with them.
Before you have sex with them.
So however long that takes to get to know them before you have sex with them, that's what you need to do.
So do you think that you can discover what they are or how they are sexually in conversation.
Heck no. People say all kind of stuff when they talking. They say, oh yeah, I'm this, I'm that. Oh, I love this, that. And then when it gets down to it, that's not what it is.
Well, my view is a little different because I just feel like, yes, I absolutely think that you can tell like with certain things if you have a certain connection, if you're going to have a certain connection sexually. I think that when it comes to, I don't know how to explain this. Like, but see, you know how like you could be in a relationship with someone and just even from the way that you guys are vibing and the way that you touch each other, like you could tell like it's going to be a great experience or whatever.
But that doesn't negate the action of it. Just because I am attracted to you. Like
I cannot wait to hear the comments on this show. It's good.
Just because I'm attracted to you and you turn me on does not mean it's going to be on fire in the bedroom.
Okay. Well, I think that's something.
Somebody can be lacking. Somebody can be, doing some things that you don't too much like. Mm-hmm. It could go a whole bunch of different ways. You just don't know. But I mean, and that's happened before. I mean, I've met women I was attracted to them, like, oh, man, like this one, we feeling each other. Mm-hmm. And then it got down to it and happened. I was like, oh Lord, this just did not go right.
So saying, I feel like the sex component is no different from anything else that we've been talking about in terms of communicating what it is that you want, communicating what it is that you don't like. And the person learning what you like and what you don't like, and it becomes a part of the evolving together process. Right. That's my opinion. I think that in every area, I don't even think that's excluded. That in every area that you can communicate what it is that you like, what it is that you don't like, and you can grow together. I think that's the mistake, and this is my opinion. I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make before marriage or even before getting to like the engagement part or whatever. I think that more men would be more amped to run to marry a woman that he really loves and cares about if she put a clank on that thing. Like for real. You don't think so?
I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why.
Why?
Part of a man falling in love with a woman is all of that.
Ooh, honey.
I'm just saying, because like for me, when I got married, because I only been married once. When I got married, we met on a Friday. We was intimate on a Sunday, and I married her 8 months later.
Oh, wow. I guess it's different strokes for different folks.
And that's the whole thing. See, all that. Great choice of words there.
I didn't mean it that way, but it just happened. That's so funny.
But what you're saying is, the essence of what you're saying is true. That is the way that it should be. Mm-hmm. But people just don't have that type of self-control. That's why. No, I think people do, because I was with a woman before, and we was together 1.5 years and never had sex. Mm-hmm. Our goal was to, get married or something, and it didn't work out.
Half, though.
Yeah, and we never had sex.
Why you just didn't go marry her? So you can.
That's a whole. You know
so
what?
You can get it.
Listen to this.
I love this.
Oh my goodness!
This is so funny.
My grandmother would say, "If you're gonna go, baby, just go all the way.
Yeah,
just go on and marry her so you can have everything."
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is my point.
But see, it was a lot of other stuff that was very important. Not just the sex.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And now I'm not saying that sex wasn't important. I'm just saying there was some other stuff that we didn't click on.
Okay.
And so, because she was a great person and stuff, or we wouldn't have lasted that long without having sex, Now, I'm not saying I ain't want to.
Right.
Because she was different.
Yeah.
But it's just the whole premise of it, was just so much other stuff that we didn't connect on. And eventually we just had to call it quits.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
So in other words, you were just really trying to see if this is something that you wanted to.
I wanted to do it the right way. I tried to do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't say I didn't try.
I mean, honestly, I really feel like that it doesn't have to be that complicated when it comes to relationships. Yes, you do.
People make it complicated.
Yeah, I think so. I think that
we make it very complicated.
I definitely think so. I
It's
think
not
that
complicated.
When you've lived, a while, at least 30 years, you've been in a few relationships, and you at that point you typically know what it is that you want. When you've been in relationships, especially with you saying that you've been married before, you typically know what you want. So within the first 2-3 dates, like if this is somebody that I could see myself with type thing. And then you start, you keep it going, and then you start really, like you said, you want to know who their family is. You want to see how they treat other people and all that stuff. I think I said that in one of my other episodes as well. I talked about even seeing how somebody treats a waitress, on a date. Like that stuff is important because you'll see that'll come out eventually. Like if that person is mean to, the woman is not nice to her kid, if she got kids or whatever it is, right? So I think that once you're on this journey of being in a relationship, it doesn't have to take that long. That's why I said, you can hold off and then really get a chance to know this person, and then it becomes more special when you say, you know what, I want to commit and let's do this thing. Let's take it to the next level. I feel like it's levels to relationships. It's levels to this. And I feel like sex is that too. Like, because I think that a lot of people stay, especially women, because now I've given you this important, special part of me,
Why do women say that? Men not giving you nothing either.
Ooh, child.
Come on, man. Come on.
Think about it. Because it's the design of a woman's body. It's a very submissive. It's the way that we were created. It's a submissive thing. So when we have sex with a man, we're ultimately submitting ourselves to that guy.
Some women.
And some women I know that some women may be savages out here. I get it. I get it. But most women, who are serious about being in a relationship and, creating a family, creating legacy or whatever it is, they look at it a little different,
I would agree if my inbox wasn't filled with married women trying to talk to me.
Yeah, but
at the end of the day,
the married women may not be getting satisfied like that at home.
Oh, now hold on. Hold your horses.
I mean, that's a whole nother topic, though.
Now, if it was a man in your inbox, you were like, because he a dog, that's why. Blah, blah,
no,
blah.
I get that all the time, actually. I do. I get married men. I get all kinds of men.
Do you not feel like he a dog or something?
I don't really... Honestly,
I've met a woman who didn't say that.
Let me tell you something. I don't really view it that way. Okay. I think that he lacks self-control. Like, I think that I'm probably not the only one. He's probably not happy or something is going on. But for me, I'm not entertaining that because you're married. But I'm not necessarily calling you a dog per se. Like, because people, I do realize that when you are going through rough patches in relationships and stuff like that, there's a certain level of vulnerability that happens with people in general, not just men, but women and men. There's a certain level of openness that you're open to now because there's a rough patch and emotions are running high. You may be sad, you may be frustrated, and you allow yourself to to be open-minded to being in other relationships, which is not a good thing.
Well,
right? So I don't really, you never know the situation. So I wouldn't really say, oh, he's a dog and he's blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what the situation, and that's the life coach inside of me, right? Because I'm the type of person.
The average woman wouldn't respond that way.
Well, for me,
I know several of them who don't.
Now, let's be clear though. If I was in a relationship though, that heck no, that wouldn't fly. You know what I'm saying? That totally wouldn't fly.
So if you was in a relationship, and what are you saying? If the guy that you with did it, or somebody was trying to talk to you?
If the guy that I was with, you know, if I found out that he was inboxing other women, that's a no-go. Like,
well, of course it's a no-go, but how would you feel about the guy at that point? Would you think he was a dog?
I would feel like he's not ready. He's not ready to be committed.
Okay.
That's how I would feel.
Okay, but
I wouldn't call. I don't do that whole thing.
You don't do the whole thing?
No, that's just not me.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's not me.
Because you're like,
I may be a little different. I didn't even know people still say that. Like, oh, he a dog. And like, I don't even.
They women go, he ain't no good. He a dog. He
well,
this,
yeah,
he
I
that,
mean,
blah, blah, blah,
for
blah,
sure.
Blah. But at the end of the day, I for every man that does it, I can tell you a woman that does the same thing.
Absolutely. But question, would you feel that way about the woman too?
Absolutely.
That she's like, oh, she's a, thought.
Is she a thought? You know what?
Tatiana. Hold on, Tatiana.
My thing is, I have to look at our relationship and see where our relationship is and where we at in our relationship.
Okay.
Now, communication, like you said, is key. So if we're in a relationship, and in the relationship we communicating and everything, and I'm thinking everything is good and she's doing it, then that's different if we ain't even talking and stuff. So I have to look at the situation.
Okay.
Because I know if she doing it and we in a situation that we've been in for probably about a month or so, I'm like, okay, so she probably doing that because we ain't really been on blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But if she just doing it and we just been kicking it and going out and dating and I'm bringing you roses and stuff and all that and everything looking good in the household and you still doing it, that's a different problem.
Now she's a thought.
Yeah. Pretty much. You love that thought. She's a thought.
Now she's a thought. Well, because you said dog. We call him a dog or whatever. Hey,
that's the number one word I hear women say is dog.
I don't
they
say
call
that.
him dog.
I think that's so like weird. I don't know. But in my mind, for me, I don't really like the whole name calling thing or whatever, because for me, it's just as simple as you're not ready for commitment.
Right.
You're not ready to be in a relationship. You're not leveled up in your issues and the stuff you have going on. And I'm not going to waste my time on something like that,
Right.
So when I get, married men and I'm like, come on, God, like I'm not responding. I'm not even entertaining you for 2 seconds. And
I just think it's something wrong with that. Like, every married person,
for sure.
And what's funny is I questioned two of them, and I said, "So you're married?" They're like, yeah. I said, "So why are you asking me if I would go out with you?"
Wow. And so they want to go out with you?
Oh, one woman said she just broke up with her boyfriend, and she wanted a new boyfriend.
Oh,
and she got a husband.
Ooh.
And I said, well, why did you and the boyfriend break up? She said, because he wanted me to leave my husband, and I'm not going to do that.
Ooh. Well,
and I'm sitting now confused. I was like, what in the world? Let me tell you something. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone.
Let me tell you something. This, I don't ever know what's going on. People be on some weird stuff nowadays.
Man.
I
wouldn't even get married if I was going to be still trying to date people and stuff like that. If you're going to just date, if you want to date people, just be by yourself and
single.
Just date.
Come on.
And do your thing. Why you want to get with somebody and then do all that?
Stop,
don't
come over here disturbing my peace, honey.
I never understood it. It's like they want their cake and eat it too, I guess.
Yeah, but that's how women feel about men. A lot of times, men want their cake and eat it too. But I think it goes vice versa. It's both ways. But I think at the end of the day,
it's too much going on out here.
Right. Like I said, a lot of people are on some weird stuff because now you have husbands and wives that are open to different things.
Oh, yeah.
Different couples and different people and all this kind of stuff. But Anyway, we're not going to get on that. That's a whole nother something. Let's stick to relationships that are for people who are really wanting to be married and in committed relationships. I think it's so good that we did kind of touch on, the sex component.
Right.
And you, as you guys see, we have two totally different stances on that when it comes to a man.
Now, I'm not saying, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I would say that's my preference too.
Yes. But
if she is diehard, like, no, not till I get married.
If it's somebody that you really like. If it's
somebody that I really into.
Yeah.
I would.
And that's good to know, though.
In that way.
And he said he will honor her in that way. I love that word. He said that he will honor her in that way. And that's the important thing to me, is that that's your preference. But at the end of the day, for me, this is one of the things that I always tell females, is that you can, if a man loves you and cares about you and wants to be with you, he will conform to what your standards are.
Let me tell you, true love is sacrifice.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
That's the ultimate.
Sacrifice. That's a good word.
Yes, because God gave His only begotten Son to save us from sin. That was His ultimate proof of love to His children.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So when you get into a relationship and you get married, even if you see this person as the potential mate for you, that sacrifice starts then for me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So all the little thoughts she used to talk to need to go on out doing them, because that's her favorite word, y'all. That's not my favorite. That's her favorite word.
It is not. It's just because you started on this dog thing. But go ahead.
And I just feel like, if you meet somebody and they potentially, you feel like this person can possibly be the one, then you should start positioning yourself to be that person's one and only to the day you die. That's how I feel.
Yes.
That's how I feel, period.
Position yourself to be that person's one and only to the day you die.
And I also feel like a person should, if marriage is their goal, then they should start positioning themselves before they even meet the person. That way, when you meet that person, you already have something to bring to the table, and that person is like, okay, you got this, that, and the other. Okay, because they see that your head is on right.
Absolutely.
And your focus is on right.
So when you say positioning yourself, just really quick, like what does that look like?
I'm gonna tell you what that look like. I'm gonna tell you what that look like for a man. I'm gonna tell you what that look like. Well, for both people.
But tell us from a man, because I have a lot of females that listen to the podcast.
I am a person that checks a person credit.
Oh, come on.
So I'm going to be straight up with you. If your credit...
Level up. I love it.
If your credit is shot, we going to have some problem. Now, if I think you're somebody who still can be potentially the one, and you just got messed up credit, and that's the only problem, then we can work together to fix that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I got the hookup on that.
Hey,
I got some people that I know.
I just
went with James Hunt. I was hanging out with him yesterday. He's one of the celebrity credit gurus.
My ex-wife,
so come on.
When I met her credit was horrible. And I helped her get it all together
her
and stuff.
Come on,
and then we got married.
The sisters up.
I got it together in 8 months. We need to fix that quick.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one thing. Secondly, a man needs to show that he has security. You need to have a home. You need to have transportation. You need to have things to allow you to be able to date the woman.
Yes.
And you need to have a decent job. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, a woman likes to feel secure.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna mention car, whatever kind of car you got is fine, but you need to have a decent job. You need to have a home. You need to have your credit in order. You need to have your children in order. If you got children, you need to be paying child support.
Yes.
And women, if you ain't seeing that man taking care of his kids and he not paying child support or even spending time with those kids, that's an image of what it's going to look like you have kids with him.
You better say that.
Believe that. Okay? So you need to look at all those different things when it comes to a man.
Yes.
Because if you plan to build a life with this man, these things need to be on point. Period.
I love it. Come on, Doctor.
Hey, I'm just
Dr.
being
Wandell.
real. I'm just being real. I learned a lot in my life. Like, I have been through a lot and I've learned a lot. And for me, and I have books on relationships galore at home.
Yes.
You know, because I want
maybe
to
you should write you one.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna see. Come on.
But, because I really believe in great relationships. I really believe in love. I believe in being with the right person and treating a person right and understanding them. For women need to be understood. Men need to be respected. That's biblical.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, for me, those things are very important in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And in order for you to find a woman, because we are the hunters, we find the woman. Okay.
That's it.
He who finds a wife finds a good thing.
A good thing, honey.
Hey, I can quote this stuff all day.
Yes.
Because I understand it, and I understand what it means for man to be head of household. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not head of household just because you make a lot of money. Yes. It's because you make decisions that will guide the family in a proper direction.
You better say. Listen, I'm about to
So
listen.
These things a man needs to understand. And the problem with a lot of men and women is that we don't understand what it really means to be married. We don't understand what it means to be in a relationship. We don't understand what it means to prepare for those things that we want.
Maybe we should do a seminar or something. We might cook up something.
You know what I mean?
Come on. So listen. That was awesome. That was y'all heard it. He just gave us a whole word, okay? And use some Bible up in there. Y'all know I love the word, honey. So I'm just so excited. that he has come on the show, and it was a great rebuttal. Yes.
What?
Yes.
We still got another hour.
We are wrapping up. We got to save some of this juice for your show.
Oh, we got a 2-hour show. Tune
His
in
show
tonight.
is 2 hours, so that's why he's like, what? This is it? No, so I am so happy that you came on to do this rebuttal. I was a little nervous. I didn't know what you were going to say, but it was so good. You leveled me up. You leveled the people up on today. And so thank you so much again, Wandell, for all of those amazing nuggets that you gave us as well, men and women, to help us to have better relationships. And this concludes our show for today. And our series on relationships. We're going to jump into something else. And just to remind you of who is sponsoring this podcast, it is Crowd Control Entertainment, who is helping you to design success. Their website is www.crowdcontrolent.com. Until next time, I look forward to hearing from everybody on what your comments are, what you feel about today's episode. We will talk to you later. Again, my social media is I am Kia Baxter on Instagram. I am Kia Baxter on Facebook. I am Kia Baxter. .com is my website. And Wandell, can you give them your social media information where they can find you as well?
Absolutely. You can find me under my name, Wandell Richardson, Wardell Richardson, official Wandell Richardson on Instagram, and on everything else you put in Wandell Richardson, I will pop up. Follow me, like me, you know. Hey, this is a crazy journey, and I'm glad. Thank you for bringing me on your show. This was awesome.
This was so fun. No problem. I look forward to, us doing more things together. So until next time, I will see you guys later. Thank you for listening to Level Up with Kia Baxter. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Level Up with Kia Baxter. I would love to stay connected with you. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at I am Kia Baxter. For upcoming events and products, visit my website at IamKiaBaxter.com.